41-year-old Jason Vukovich is accused of violently assaulting men with a history of sexual offenses involving children.
Years of law enforcement, this is the worst treatment of humanity that I've ever witnessed.
We're continuing on with season 1 of Roll the Bones. I am joined today by somebody. I'm honored to have him here. He is the tip of the spear when it comes to the war against child predators. He stands up there with what I consider the Mount Rushmore of guys fighting this fight. Ryan Montgomery, Clark Fredericks, and I'm proud to have Jason Vukovich here with me, the Alaskan Avenger. Thanks for being here, man. I'm honored to have you.
Hey, happy to be here, Chris. I appreciate you, man.
Why are people? This is these child predators. This is like, I'd hate to say this is a new problem. This is a forever problem, but it's now becoming more and more frequent. They're ramping up with social media. They found all these different ways, and everybody needs to realize this is from the highest point of government to the lowest, in the dark alleys.
Very true.
I'm a parent myself. What could we do, in your opinion, to halt this crap? To hold them accountable.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this: it is a long road ahead of us. But I will tell you, honestly, the number one easiest way to shut the entire pyramid down right off top is figure out a way where kids can pay taxes and vote. Mm-hmm. As soon as a kid could pay taxes and vote, all of a sudden his life and his sanctity would matter to politicians. Due to the fact kids have no vote and they don't pay taxes, guess what? They don't fucking matter to politicians at all. And the laws represent that. And they will continue to represent that. And that, honestly, is the simple answer to changing the structure. Number two, the difficult answer is adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse constitute the single largest body of humanity in the United States and in the world. Together, we're bigger than any government, bigger than any army. We're bigger than any of the powers that determine these laws. We are the ones that have survived it as kids. But the problem is the primary symptom of child abuse is isolationism. So we all withdrew. We all separated from each other. We all acted like we were bad and wrong and whatever. So honestly, like with my social media stuff and what I do, I'm literally trying to gather us all together. And we need to get off our ass and vote these people out of office and make kids' lives actually matter.
It's so horrific. Now, since I started doing this project, I've been, I talk with a lot of different people from law enforcement, federal, and on the federal level, and they said one of the most sinister things that people aren't talking about is the amount of children that are being trafficked across the border. and it's a lot of the people that are coming across are actually not with their parents. They're and there was cases they had mentioned there, shipping containers, 500 kids picked like that are taken off, in different ports, and or people actually within the state agencies that are participating in this that still hold their jobs today, because what they do is they double deal, and they're getting paid to put kids in select foster homes.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's infuriating to me that this is allowed to happen. That where the fuck are anybody? People should be outraged. You should be, this is those situations. You want to burn a city down. This is something you do it for. It's like those kids that have no voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true. And the thing is, I will tell you, throughout this conversation, you will find with me, simple is genius is one of my mottos complex problems, there are simple solutions to all of them. And I'm telling you right now, all the respect in the world to Benjamin Franklin, but starting the fire department, starting the police department, as soon as we were trained, if something bad happens, you call 911, you call a stranger. Anytime something happens, call a stranger. That was the beginning of the breakdown of the community. Because nowadays, if I see a kid getting picked on, I don't go out there and help him out as his neighbor or his friend or somebody that sees it. I go call a stranger.
Yeah.
And when the stranger shows up, he's like, well, let me see some evidence. You don't have any? Sorry, nothing I can do. Bro, I get emails all the time like this. And I'm telling you right now, communities need to be aware of each other and themselves. And I tell people all the time, if you see something, do something. See something, say something is played the fuck out. If you see something, do something. And I remember being a small child and going to the grocery store, playing soccer, going to their church, all of these places. And bro, I had visible bruises on my body. I pissed the bed every single place I went and spent the night. Something is wrong with that kid. Something is happening to that kid. And guess what? Not a single person ever, bro. They had me in a 1,000-person church congregation. Not one of those people ever came up to me and said, hey, kid, are you all right? Is everything going on good? Are you cool? Not once. And so the simple solution to this problem is, the other thing too is, I hate to give it to you like this. Actually, I don't. It's reality. I have never met a single pedophile yet that was cured of their compulsion. Ever, not once, unless they were castrated or constrained. So the third option is fear as a deterrent. And I'm telling you right now, when you're scared of the tattooed bad man kicking your front door again and beating the brakes off you, that shit works, bro. That shit works. And there should be something like me in every single neighborhood, every apartment building, every single place in our country. These people, these individuals should be terrified that I exist.
In my area, we have the bigger one that I support is they're called Pop Squad. They have you see them, their hoodies that say it's a guy on his knees with a gun that says to shoot your local pedophile is their thing. And and they wear that stuff loud and proud. They don't mince words when it comes to that stuff. Like, I mean, and this is a crew that, I mean, you're gonna get arrested if you fucking cross the line, but they will hurt you too. Like, and it does keep some situations at bay, and I like that. And I think you have a lot. I think you're responsible for a lot of it, but there's an increase over the last 3 years in. Like Pred Catchers, Colorado. There's the guys out in Oklahoma, and they're all over the country. The Skeeter Gene, that are out there really taking going at it. And I've talked to Skeeter before years back, and he said the only issue is depends on what precinct you're dealing with. Some detectives they'll play ball, and they'll be like, okay, give us everything you got, and they're gonna bring an arrest. But a lot of the other ones, like. It comes down to bureaucratic horseshit that they don't want to accept. Like, oh no, well you didn't go through the training I did, so that's it.
Yeah. And I will tell you this, in my experience with my sentencing, I remember the judge saying we need to send a message to the community, a very strong message to the community, because in general in the state that I live in, the sentence was basically about, check this out, around here you're not the boss, we're the boss. We will not tolerate vigilantism in our state. And for me, internally, standing in the courtroom, I found it quite interesting because I thought to myself, you're absolutely sending a message loud and clear. And the message you're sending is if you want to come to the state of Alaska and fuck with little kids, it's not that big a deal. But if you come to the state of Alaska and you fuck with the people that fuck with little kids, we're going to put you under the building. That was the message they sent, whether it was intentional or unintentional. Actually, it had to be intentional because the dude issued it. So this is a situation that has to be attacked from top to bottom and bottom up. And certainly when you're going door to door, bashing them out or hunting them down, that is a very base level way to approach this problem. And that's where I started. And life is about advancing yourself and progressing yourself. So obviously I can't continue doing that or I'm almost half 100, bro, in the next 2 months. So I can't spend the next 50 in jail.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm very fortunate and very privileged to be out here through extreme set of circumstances. And I'm telling you, there was equal parts on both sides of the DOC structure that fucking hated me and then half that loved me. And they were all scared to let me out because the ones that loved me were terrified they were going to look bad. And the ones that hated me never wanted me to get out again anyway.
Yeah.
So
how did the police start how did they end up finding you?
So really, I had gone to a number of homes throughout Anchorage, and I think there was a 1 or 2 day time span in between them. And the way I did it, bro, was face up, no mask, no weapon, knock, knock, knock. They'd open the door. I'd walk right past them into the house and say, come on, homeboy, come on. And, bro, they just know what time it is just by your vibe.
Yeah.
So the cops knew somebody was working in town. What level of investigation they did towards the first amount of them, I don't know. But the last house I visited, this was the dude that had been convicted of raping a 10-month-old baby.
Jesus Christ.
And I was knocking on the outside of his home for probably an hour and a half because his master bedroom light was on. Front door, side door, windows. He wouldn't. I was telling him, come outside, homeboy, come answer your door. He wouldn't answer his door. So I remembered I had my tools in my car, and I went and got a hammer and broke the side light of his house and just climbed inside. And I had gotten his name from a mom in the community, and then I vetted him online. And she told me that he had this conviction, but he was the youth music leader for some church, obviously in violation of the conditions of his parole or his registry or whatever. And so when I walk in his house, bro, there's a whole circle of instruments in his living room. And while I was knocking on the door and he wasn't answering it, mind you, I heard a back screen door latch shut, and I see a young girl riding off on a bicycle. So I knew this dude had kids in his home. Well, what I didn't know was that he had converted, he was a millionaire. It was a really large home.
Yeah.
He had converted a portion of his home into an Airbnb. So with all of the noise of breaking glass and things, I see a couple come hustling out of their bedroom, and I'd seen his picture, and I told them, this doesn't have anything to do with you. Get back in your room. And they sort of backpedaled and shut the door. And then I went into his master bedroom, and he was trying to barricade himself, so I booted my way in.
Yeah.
And I had put the hammer in the backpack, and I set the backpack on the floor in between us, and I usually tell these dudes, like, get on your knees or get on the floor or whatever. Well, interesting point. When you see the mugshot, take some time to check the height and weight on these dudes because this guy was hella tall, bro. I was like, and I'm hella tall too. Trust me, I'm 6'2".
Yeah.
It's a big dude. It was an older dude, but a big dude. And he didn't want to comply. And so I let him punch me with a couple of big lumbering punches just to pull the trigger. And the weird part was, bro, was in that moment, I kid you not, I reverted in my mind to my young self, and I was like, you know what? I'm not losing this fight this time. I'm not losing. And honestly, one of the most cathartic things that had happened to my heart in a very long time. But then I remembered that hammer was there, bro, and I just pulled out the hammer and cracked him in the collarbone, shattered his collarbone one time, and then he dropped to his knees, and I domed him about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And by then, when I saw him in a full slump on the floor, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, did I just kill this dude? Maybe I should leave. And, you know, when you're caught up in the moment, of course, the couple, when they backpedaled into their room, they probably called the cops immediately. So I got in the car. I also had a dope ass pit bull, Aminos, that would come with me everywhere. And I called my dog. He would circle the house just in case they ran. Good dog. And got my dog in the car and I smashed down the end of the road. It was a dead end road I was on. And right when I got to the end of that road, bro, I flipped my headlights on and a cop was pulling in and saw me hitting my headlights on. Must have known. They probably gave him a description of the car or something and they pulled me over. Had the bloody hammer sitting in between the console, all that.
Oh, man.
And you're not getting away, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy part was, though, like 6 or 7 cops showed up and they cuffed me up. And all of them are like patting me on the back. Did you get that motherfucker? Did you get him good? This type of shit. And I see an ambulance racing by heading towards the house. And I was sort of in my own thoughts. I was distracted, not really responding to them. And because it was sort of settling on my consciousness, like, well, there goes the rest of your life, bro. But, you know, for one kid, worth it.
Right.
And then I saw the ambulance going the other way. Well, the strange thing about all of this is, bro, I'm telling you, whether you're a religious person or not, some demons are hard to kill because this motherfucker goes through surgery and the next day he calls the media and gives a press conference. Oh, I'm so upset. This dude picking, when is this ever going to end? With a whole bunch of pictures. And it's kind of interesting because the media would have never known or ever called me the Alaskan Avenger. But this guy, before we started our fight, he was asking me, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Take all my stuff. And I told him, actually, I'm an avenging angel for the children that you've molested, motherfucker. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that told the press that I said that. So you can imagine my chagrin 3 days later when the newspaper comes under the door and it's like, Alaska's avenging angel hunts pedophiles or whatever. I had no idea. I've never spoken to the media up until recently at all about any of that. So
when you were...
sadly...
No, go ahead.
Yeah, sadly, it came from a pedophile.
But it shows at least that much fear that got put in him. You know what I mean?
For sure. For sure. Well, and also, quickly, interestingly, he muttered his way into the courtroom at my sentencing with a colostomy bag and a TBI and everything else. And it was quite a surreal moment with this dude standing next to me, stuttering to the judge about how scared he was. He had to check his locks at night and his windows and everything else and how terrified he was. And Judge, please don't let him out of prison until I die because I'm so scared. And, you know, I was quietly thinking to myself, yep, yeah, motherfucker. Yeah, now you get it. Because that's exactly what every single night was for me from about the age of 5 years old till about 14 when I managed to escape my home. Now maybe you get it.
My wife had sent me, she had sent me an article from, it was a journalist somewhere in Alaska, and interviewed the three of them separately. And I loved the bait and switch that the reporter did. Because, like, and, you know, you could see the statement, oh, you know, he's a monster, you know, and they're crying like you're Jason Voorhees and all this shit. And it's like, I hope, you know, he understands the damage he's done to his victims or whatever. And I don't even think they deserve to have that term even applied to them. But but the way the reporter's like, yeah, I wonder if your victims feel the same about you. Conversation dead. Yep. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I was like, you see, that's what media's got to be hard, vicious in retaliation. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. And the thing that's really important about that too, it's important for people to understand, again, as the judge was issuing his sentence, 23 years in prison, and it did settle on me like a weight. It was a heavy sentence. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you this, what most people don't know is I was literally chuckling to myself on the inside because I was thinking to myself, this motherfucker doesn't even know, does he? I got my life sentence when I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. That's when the life I should have had was taken from me, when I was 6. And he thinks he's given me a sentence. He doesn't understand. I already got that sentence at the hands of a child molester. But go ahead, Judge. Take away more years of my life. Because what life I could have had or should have had already been taken.
That's in when you were picking them out. Like, obviously you said that one somebody had tipped you off. Like, were Was there a certain criteria you actually looked for?
I mean, you know what's crazy is each one of them made it quite simple, because the way that it worked out is I had left Alaska for 15 years or so. And I actually had a similar occurrence in Central Oregon. I was living in Redmond, Oregon. I had a similar occurrence, and I had to move out of town because these guys were involved with organized crime and things like that. And I was disrupting their drug business by banging on their people who were trafficking in underage kids.
Yeah.
So I come back to the state of Alaska, and I think to myself, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to come back to my home state. I'm just going to retire from all this extra shit, and I'm going to get a job on the slope or whatever. Well, bro, within 3-4 weeks of coming back, I'm sort of getting connected into the community. And I start hearing it, bam, this guy's trafficking kids, got them doing meth. These people are fucking little kids over here, left and right and left and right. And I think some of us, if you come from that background, you're like a magnet for people that want help. And you know, if you're involved in the criminal lifestyle, which I was for most of my life, people that were raised in the criminal lifestyle, bro, we don't call cops. We don't do it. We don't call cops. So they call the big homie. Hey, man. And unfortunately, the fact of the matter is most of the people involved in criminal life right now, when they call the big homie, he's not going to get off his ass and do anything. Well, I'm not that guy. And so what I would do, I'm also not Captain Save a Victim either. So I would get the name. I would vet them, because typically I just want to see if there's anything out there. And, bro, you would be surprised. 8 times out of 10, prior convictions. And then also sometimes, like I would be vetting a name, and I'd be like, oh, I wonder what this guy's in here for. Click. Oh, wow, 26 counts of sodomy on a minor, and he's from Tennessee, and now he lives in Alaska. Well, maybe I better go pay him a visit too, and I would.
Second my daughter was born, like when my wife got pregnant with my first, she had a son from another relationship regardless, but the first thing, as soon as she told me she was pregnant, I was sitting, a friend of mine who is in, I can't say, but one of the motorcycle clubs in the area. Me and him were sitting up at his clubhouse on a laptop. I wanted to see everybody around me, where the fuck they at, what they're charged with, and again, and the thought was crossing through my head. Sure as shit, 2 days after she's born, she's been home for less than 48 hours. A guy in Worcester, Mass, which is an hour from here. And I cried when I fucking read that. I never wanted to hurt somebody more in my life. Jeffrey Portnoy, this piece of shit, and I'm saying this now, is trying to get out on the streets now.
Yeah.
Built a dungeon.
Will.
Built a dungeon in his basement with the intent of doing horrific things and eating children.
Yeah.
Thank God the
real.
feds got him before he did anything. Like, he got picked up on he got hit in the right spot, and they raided him and got him.
Yeah.
Monster.
And the thing I will tell you is, once again, I don't care what your spiritual beliefs are or what religion you are or what practice you have. I have a great deal of respect for all of them. But what I will tell you is, in very basic, plain language, based on life experience, there are weirdos, there are deviants, and then there are individuals that are possessed by something that is not of this earth. And we know this because you and I have lived our entire lives, and we have never had any compulsion to sexualize a child or eat a child, ever. I don't care if you're a mean dad. I don't care if you're a short-tempered dad. I don't care if you're an alcoholic dad. That compulsion to have power over and sexualize a child is not natural to the human being. It's not. And one of the things that I developed over time, and mind you, I was raised in a heavily Christian household while being abused and molested. That's a mind fuck. But it taught me to acknowledge the spiritual plane, and I became very adept at discernment, bro. And I'm the guy that could walk in the room with 6 people in it, and I would spot the one. What's up, homeboy? I see you. And I'm not kidding you. More than once, I would have them literally do this, bro. Oh, you see me? Just like that. Call them out in the middle of the room. Yeah, I see you, homeboy. What's up? Come on. Come outside type vibe.
Yep.
And that people have to understand, once again, it does not matter what religion or spirituality you do or do not practice. There are energies inside human bodies that are not of this earth. And we know this based on the crimes they commit, based on the compulsions they have. And I would like to say this loud and proud. You do not have to accept any of these aberrant compulsions. They don't belong here.
Now,
Period.
And this is why it's, I try to focus on and interview the people like yourself that have there's a light inside of what you guys have done, or redemption or whatever. But in order to understand fully your side of it, you have to talk to Pure Evil, which I have communicated with BTK, Dennis Rader, one of the worst fucking men in history. And there's nothing like, it's like there's almost like there's nothing there. You know what I mean? Like no shred of feeling. You know what I mean at all.
Yep. To the best of my ability to describe, like I'll give you one example. One time I showed up at a fourplex and I walked up to the door and put my finger over the peephole and knocked. Bam, 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 bam.
Yep.
And I could hear music playing loud inside and nobody answered, so I knocked again. Nobody answered, so I knocked again. Finally, this dude answers the door. He's absolutely hammered. I can see past him into the bedroom in the apartment, and there's probably, I'm guessing, 9, 10-year-old girl, 12, 13-year-old girl. They're both in their underwear, and they're both also visibly drunk on the bed. And I had literally showed up the exact moment before this dude was about to rape a couple of young kids that he had already got hammered. And I grabbed him by his shirt and jerked him out of his fourplex and said, "You're coming with me. We're taking a ride." And I'm telling you right now, on the way to where we were going, this dude was begging me to kill him. And he was crying and telling me how, "Bro, when I got out of prison, they put me in an apartment that overlooked a daycare. And some days I don't even let myself leave the apartment. I stand in the window and masturbate and look at the kids because all I want to do is rape kids. I want to have power over children." He was begging me to kill him. And that is not a request that comes from a regular human being. That is a thing that knows it does not belong here and it isn't even comfortable with its own compulsions. So it's super important, if you're a parent, teach your child self-defense, teach your child to scream like a fucking banshee if anyone puts hands on them or tries to take them anywhere. Scream now. I don't care what kind of uniform it's got on. I don't care what kind of vest. Scream loud. Fire, anything you can. It's really super important because these things do exist and they are around us.
It's really like, I hate I want my kids to be able to have, I always try to teach them to be street savvy, like be smart, see how people are moving. Like if you're in there, if there's a bunch of people in the room, don't just walk in. Stop at the door, look around, see if something feels weird, if something... and that was just how, from the dumb shit I was doing, you see how people move and you could just smell it on them, like already they have ill intent. And it's like, but I hate the fact that they can't even have the things to have a childhood, like something positive, like games. So my son, the youngest, he likes to play, I have it so they can't even use the microphones on it. But you go in there and it's like Roblox, fucking cesspool. It's a pit that of just creeps. You know what grown ass man is playing this fucking game by himself? Like, you know what?
Well, it's one of I was gonna say it's one of the first stories that I did when I got out of prison, because I'd been gone a decade, bro. I had no idea what Roblox was. Some parent reached out to me and said, "Please, can you do a story for the kids about Roblox?" So I started doing some investigating. And the FBI says Roblox is the single largest gathering place for child predators on the face of the earth. Roblox, for real. So we have to be able to find this fine line. It's just like saying, "Hey, man, I can't take my kids to the ocean anymore because there's sharks in there."
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You just have to teach them some things. And it's also really important for me to tell you what this, after you said that, Chris, and I tell people this every single day. I'm not a hero. You are, because you're being a good dad to your kids and you're being a good example to your kids. and teaching your kids the things you're teaching them, bro, you're a hero. Because I never had that. I never had that, bro, ever.
And you know what? And I appreciate you saying that, but I mean, it's like I think we look at the hero thing in two different ways. You see it from the way that of what like me, like the way you didn't have it, but I see
Right.
from my perspective, you're the hero in this because you're out there, advocating. And I'm sure, like, do you face backlash from freaks and weirdos for being like kind of like the tip of the spear?
Always.
Like,
Always. Always.
it's the fact that that's even a thing. Like, how can somebody even you're like demonize you for kind of speaking gospel? You know what I'm saying? Like, people should be hearing it.
In my case, after I got arrested, when it came time for my sentencing, I thought I was going to be real smart. And I'm like, well, I'll just write a letter to the prosecutor through the front page of the newspaper. And I basically told him, listen, I will plead guilty to any combination of charges you wish. I have one caveat, and that is my sentence is to equal in length what each pedophile served in prison for their crime against a child. Mm-hmm. And I will serve each one of their prison sentences back to back to back to back. And so when you stack my 3 victims' prison sentence together, it came to 6 years, 9 months. And mind you, one of them convicted of molesting a 10-month-old baby.
Jesus
one
Christ.
Of them convicted of raping his own daughter. And then the other one was a child pornographer. So these are not like basic crimes or basic individuals.
Yeah.
These are really awful individuals with awful tendencies. And so the interesting part about my experience was, number one, if you're in jail, do not write an offer to the prosecutor through the front page of the newspaper. Don't do that. They fucking hate it. Trust me. They think you're an arrogant cocksucker, and they absolutely hate it. But they laughed that offer out of the courtroom, and ultimately they gave me 3 times longer in prison for having the audacity to assault child predators than the child predators themselves got for assaulting kids. Yeah, you know what was interesting about that is it started with the prosecutor. So what's interesting is, now mind you, I'm a broke dude. I don't do this to make money. I'm just out there doing it because it's next to my heart. It's important to do. I hired an attorney for $2,200 to represent me, a brand new youngster from out of state. And mind you, he left after whatever little stuff he did. But this prosecutor came after me with such veracity and tried to tear down my character. I'm just a drug addict. I'm just looking for soft targets to steal their stuff. I'm just a bully. It was aggressive, bro. The prosecution was aggressive. And it was really interesting because I remember going to a court date and this male prosecutor is asking the judge for an extension. And I'm listening to him tell the judge why, because his wife was about to give birth and he wanted to be there for the birth of his first child. And again, it was another courtroom moment where I was standing there silently thinking to myself, well, isn't this interesting, bro? Because God forbid, and I don't even wish it on his child, when something in this lifetime may or may not happen to your child, you know what? You're going to wish there was one of me around. You are. And that was just a surreal moment to me. I was like, this is a guy that's about to be a father, and he is prosecuting me with such veracity. I'm telling you, bro, we presented evidence of complex PTSD, prior childhood abuse, et cetera, et cetera. The only reason why I'm standing in your courtroom, bro, these people came and said, well, he went to those houses because he knows felons aren't allowed to have guns. Mm-hmm. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, felons definitely don't carry firearms. We all know that, right?
Yeah.
That's the most stupid shit I've ever heard in my life. So
I think they came at you that way because a lot of these guys, and even I've learned this from talking with different guys that from the mob, a lot of these prosecutors, what they want, they're not thinking, they don't really give a shit about what you did. What they're thinking is a political career. How can I expand upon what I'm already doing? So when they see, all right, you got a guy, they paint the narrative, we have a mad dog killer or somebody potential, they'll come at you with the same contempt they would a serial killer. Yeah, they're looking at like, look at this big case I just took down. Yep. They're not going to get the New York mob cases. You know what I mean? So
Not in Alaska.
Right. So, that's what I think it boils down to is they don't really give a shit about what they're doing. And I'm not saying all of them. Some of them actually do take their job seriously and do look at things objectively. But I think a lot of the prosecutors, a lot of them, they're more focused on how they can expand where their career is going to be 10 years from now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's probably true. But another thing too, I will tell you, weird things play into child molestation and how it's handled. So by way of example, the state of Alaska is dark for a good portion of the year. Mm-hmm. And when you live in a state where it's dark a good portion of the year, families isolate. They don't come out and interact with each other. They're heavily isolated a good portion of the year. So also the state of Alaska has one of the highest rates of rape and child molestation and domestic violence in the entire country. We are probably number one. I think we're still number one for all of those things.
Jesus
so
Christ.
The thing that blew my mind was when I went to my sentencing, a week before my sentencing, there had been a automobile theft ring operating, and this group of vigilantes came together. They even created a Facebook group, and they were chasing down these stolen cars and running these dudes down and getting them arrested, and they were well celebrated in the press. And when this dude and his partner that were stealing the cars got sentenced, bro, the courtroom was packed. The hallway outside was packed. Mad press and media was there. It was overflowing, right? So I remember going to my sentencing and walking in, and there were plenty of media there, but not a single Alaskan turned out, not one, to support the dude that was out there in benefit of their fucking kids. And to me, that really spoke loud and clear, where I was like, you know what? This is crazy, where people care so deeply about their property and their car, but they don't care if their child gets hurt or if somebody rides for kids in general. Man, that's sad, bro. That is sad.
And you saw this with during the pandemic. It's why I think there's a lot of widespread, like the drug use is expanded like almost 700%. The violence is overwhelming because when people were locked down, there was a lot of people that were locked and trapped inside with their abusers, and now on a global level. And then you're just told it was all propagated on a lie. I know people got their opinions on it. It was all bullshit. So now there a lot of people I think are viewing it. You locked me, you jailed me in with my abuser for what? They might have been planning a way out or their escape, and you locked them down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is emblematic of the response to being abused as a child. Again, people isolate, and I'm telling you, it's particular to certain environments, because while I was sitting in jail, bro, here's another bizarre factoid. While I was doing my prison time, with rare exception, maybe once, maybe twice, I got letters from all over the world, people sharing their stories of abuse and thanking me. The state of Alaska, crickets, bro, crickets. Not a fucking letter, not anything from an Alaskan. It was really bizarre. Now, I will tell you that has changed since I've been released. I've had tons of people from my local area reach out and show respect and offer me kindness. The apartment I'm in is from an Alaska. I paid for it, but no deposit, no last month's rent, none of that. He's like, bro, just give me the rent, move in, you're good. The car I'm driving, $0 down payment. Hey, bro, pay me whatever you can every month. Here's a $40,000 Cadillac. Just drive it and make a payment every month. So, I mean, there's been community support after the fact, but in all of the years I was doing time, man, I honestly, I started referring to the state of Alaska as the atomic dumpster. And I was like, you know what? These people don't give a shit about their own kids. Check this out, man. When I get out of prison, I'm out of here, man. I'm out. If you don't care about your own kids, I'm out of here.
Just come out to Connecticut. Once you're free to move around, we got to get you out here. We'll get you some fresh ink.
Hell yeah.
My guitarist, he's in a hardcore band out here.
Nice.
I'd say guitars or tattoo artists. I don't know, but Death Threat. It's like the big three in my area: Hatebreed, Death Threat, 100 Demons all day.
I love Hatebreed. I fuck with Hatebreed all day.
Yeah, Wes, he's the best.
That
was a nod. Wes is the best. That was a nod to the giveaway we're gonna do.
Nice.
But The one thing I've learned, and I'm glad you actually just did a video about this. I'm so glad you brought it up, because I've talked about it with different federal agents. Um, a lot of these child rings, the shot callers are women.
Yep.
The bosses are women.
Yep.
Women are can be monsters too, and
Yep.
perverts and sickos and crazies.
Yep. Yeah. And the thing is, once again, in my own life experience, I had a mother who was a fat church lady, bro. She was a missionary wife. And as soon as my missionary natural father disappeared when I was 2 or 3 years old, the next dude she married at the church, child molester. And not only was this dude a child molester, and what I believe is, up until a point, she wasn't privy to the molestation. But for many years, she was aware this dude was a child abuser. And I'm talking belts. He had a custom-made 2x4 in the garage that was about 2.5 feet long with a 2-handle grip with holes drilled in it.
Jesus
like, this shit is not normal. You don't beat your children with a 2x4.
Yeah.
She was privy to all of that, bro. Did nothing. I remember the day my brother was like, I'm telling her. And I was begging him, please don't tell her. I'm telling her. And he told my mom, this dude has been molesting us. And I remember her reaction, bro. It was the most bizarre thing in the world. She called me, Jason, get down here. And she made my brother and I sit on stools in the kitchen. And then she had this dude come in the room and she's like, you tell him what you told me. Why would you fucking do that to some little kids? You're going to call the child molester in the room and have him stare us in the face? And we got to call this dude out again to his face? Like, bro. And then my brother and I, at 2 separate times in our life, him first, because he was 3 years older than me, climb out the window and run away because she stays married to the dude that was molesting us and beating us, even after he got hauled to the court and convicted of second-degree child molestation and abuse. Can you imagine being a mom and this dude is just convicted in a court of law of molesting your sons, and you stay with him until the day he dies? Bro, that shit is twisted and sick. And it's really important for me to remind people all the time that, you know what, we have these weird ideas about, man, she's 23 and he's 14 or 13, he's smashing this hot chick or whatever. Well, check it out. If you're 23 years old and you're fucking a minor, you're a child molester. You're going to jail. Goodbye. Sorry to disappoint all the 14-year-olds out there, but that's what it is. That's the world we live in. That's the rules.
Where was the state in all this? Like, where did they ever come out and like investigate on their own?
Well, the thing that complicates that is these were pillars of the single largest church in Anchorage, which is the big city I live in. So when the pillars of a massive church have the back of the molester, weirdly, the church provided him his attorney. He had tons of people come to the courtroom, and I'll never forget, bro. I don't remember much from my childhood, but I do remember this dude standing in the courtroom telling the judge, well, I was just curious to see how they were developing as men. I remember him saying that. And I'm telling you right now, if you're any kind of mother and you're with any kind of dude that is ever saying he's touching your kid's privates because he's just curious how they're developing, that's a sick fuck, and he needs to go to prison, and you need to leave him immediately if you love your kids.
I know, you've done a video on it. What happened just 10 minutes from me, Kimberly Sullivan took her son out of school at 11 years old and imprisoned him for 20 plus years.
Yep.
This monster is like next level. I've talked to people, in law enforcement in the area that actually were there, that talked to him. They said the conditions that this guy was living in rivaled Auschwitz.
Yeah.
And he was savvy enough. Like they said, he actually had a good head on it. Like was very intelligent. He did a lot to educate himself. And I'm happy to say though he's safe and he's doing well. He's like in a rehabilitation center and he's getting the proper treatment. There's a GoFundMe page. I'm gonna try to find it, so I'm gonna add it to this.
Hell yeah.
68 pounds, 5'11".
insane.
What?
It's insane.
And I mean, the thing that's scary to me is that she's got a good lawyer. Like I've asked a couple people in the area, in the state. I guess the attorney she has, he's pretty good. I don't think that. I don't think that she's gonna get far. I mean, the police commissioner is furious. Like he even said this is the worst treatment of humanity he's ever seen in 30 years.
Yeah. Well, number one, I think the police commissioner should be furious at his investigators, because when I heard the reporting, the superintendent of the school came out and said, we called them, we notified them, something is fucked up with this kid. The mom just pulled him out and he's never been seen again. The police commissioner said, looking through his files, well, we went out to the house, it was perfectly clean, everything was perfectly normal, etc. Well, similar to, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing but the utmost respect for law enforcement and the work they do.
Yeah, sure, no.
When they get it right. Yeah, when they get it right. But I'll tell you what they did, the same thing they didn't do in my world. The dude they just convicted of molesting me, they sent right back to the house, bro. I never saw another state employee or representative or cop or anyone ever again until I got arrested for committing crimes when I was a kid. So what they didn't do, yeah, you can go out there the first day this monster pulls a kid out of school, sweet. But what about the 6 month later follow-up?
Right.
What about the 1 year later follow-up? You got a missing kid now. He's not in school anymore.
Right.
What happened to all that? They completely dropped the ball. Dropped the ball.
There's a lot of people that are going to be on the hook here. Like, and I think, like family members, like where was this? I know his father, like passed away.
Yep.
Like, you know, there's going to be, I'll be curious in the next couple weeks how this plays out. But there was the event I was at last night. I heard that there was some, cops that were there that I heard them talking about it, and said that he's safe. He's in a place they're not mentioning where he's at, but that he's in good spirits right now. Like, that were, just patrolmen that were there said that he was smiling, like he was legitimately smiling, and
I bet he was.
And
I bet he was.
He didn't want to let go of the fireman that was carrying him. And it's so heartbreaking, and it makes you consider, like, one thing, it put me in a real, seeing the report, it was the timing of it was, I had just emailed you when that came across, that report came out. And, it, like, me and my wife went for a drive, just running errands, but it put me in a really dark headspace, kind of thinking, you're looking at all the houses you're passing, like, what dark shit is hiding behind the walls, like and I mean that's just the reality of the world, and especially in this. This isn't like gangland violence that's in your face. You see it; it's on the street. This is cloak and dagger. It is the worst type of crime. Yeah,
and the thing, to kind of add on to what you're saying there, I won't go down the rabbit hole too deeply, but what I will tell you is, there are clandestine families in this country that have been practicing certain things for a very, very long time. It's not just the Mexican cartels from outside the country or Venezuelans from other countries or whatever. Within this country, there are American born and bred and raised clandestine families that have breeding stock. They trade stock. They import kids. They have slaves, all type of stuff. It goes down. It literally goes down. And then the other thing, too, the primary takeaway from that particular story right there, which I broke out to everyone, is trust and believe you need to save yourself. If you are a captive or you are hostage or you are being abused, do not continue allowing yourself to be abused. You need to start looking right now for ways to save yourself. You have to. And most people don't hear that. Nobody ever told me. You know what's crazy? You know where I heard it? I was bagging groceries at Safeway at 14 years old. I was in homeschool. I started packing moose at 13 to be away from the house as much as possible. And this little cute chick from the alternative school comes sashaying through a couple of days a week. And I left her a little note on her truck. You're cute. And one day we're having a conversation and I tell her about my abusive household. And she's like, you need to get the fuck out of there. I literally, bro, didn't know in my own mind, because I was raised in that environment and these were church people. I was convinced they were representatives of God, and what was going on, I must have deserved it. It must be right. It must be okay. It wasn't until some cigarette weed smoking chick from the alternative school heard what was happening to me and told me, we need to get you out of there. Mm-hmm. And literally, she pulled up in her little beat up Ford Ranger pickup truck, and I climbed out the window, and I never went home again. And it's really important for people to understand. Check this out. That is one of the reasons why I was inspired to do what I did. Because, bro, when I was a little ass kid, if some tatted up badass would have booted the front door in one night and beat the brakes off the dude that was molesting me, bro, yeah, woo, I can't believe it. There must really be a God. This is incredible.
Right.
Instead of that, nothing, ever. I had to save myself.
And that's like, you know, especially like just to keep that pocket community, like the churches. You see this stuff like, you know, I can't remember the name of the church off the top of my head. There was a documentary where this 90-something-year-old guy had, you know, married 25 women, half of which were minors. You know, then you had there was a documentary I watched called The Keepers. It was about the Catholic Church in a school. Like, and one of the nuns had spoken out, and the priest killer. And this is how dark like those organizations get, is because especially with the Catholic Church, they had everyone in government control, like high profile politicians, shot callers, cops, threatening and intimidation, like the worst type of stuff. To the point, one of the victims, they thought she was going to come out. One of the priests walked her out to where they found that woman's body and said, "Oh, something, you know, you never know, things happen."
Yeah.
You know, like,
it's real.
And the guy never saw a day of jail time. All they do with that Catholic Church, they would, you know, one of the priests get caught, and then they would file him to this sanctuary rehabilitation bullshit. And it's basically keeping you a low profile, and then they find you another church or high school or wherever the fuck, and you're back in business.
Yeah.
Worst shit imaginable.
Yeah, and honestly, it's one of the most difficult things that I ever extricated myself from was that spell of religion that was put on me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when I'm talking, it's very off-putting to fundamentalist people of various religions. And it's not because I am anti-teaching people morals and values or believing there is some higher power. Because I believe there is. However, when you have a hierarchy or a system of power, bro, the best example to give you would be, I finally get down to a minimum custody prison, and I go to drop off my laundry, and there's like a 68 or 70-year-old fat black dude in there, and he's like, "Yes, sir. No, sir. I'll get you right in first, sir. God bless you, everything." Mm-hmm. So I asked the homie, man, who's the old school black dude down there, man? He is like on his fucking knees to give me respect and put my shirts and everything out all the time. It's insane. It's weird. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, you don't know who that is? That's Iceman, bro." And I'm like, "Well, who the fuck is Iceman?" And he's like, "Bro, that dude has taken more assholes in the last 40 years of his prison time than any other inmate in the Alaska system." Well, old Iceman used to get any youngster he could that came into the pen, and he'd tell them, "I'm going to train you and I'm going to get you swole." And he'd hella work them out really hard till they were exhausted. And then he would knock them out and fuck them in the ass and then turn them loose. And this dude did it over and over and over and over again. So one day I pull up on him and I tell him, "Hey, Iceman, come here, man." I'm like, "Tell me this, man. What the fuck is it, man? You're literally," I'm just thinking in my mind, so you turn a dude around, pull down his dirty ass DOC boxers and fucking prison pants, and you're staring at a dirty, unwashed, sweaty butthole. What turns you on about that shit, bro? That's disgusting. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I'll tell you right now, player, it's all about the power. It's just the power." And that's exactly what it is to these monsters, man. They want to have power over something that expresses their power differently. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. And so it's another reason why I always encourage people, check this out. Physical power is basic, bro. Basic. And I guarantee you that because I can get in my car and run over the baddest dude on this block right now. I can be the weakest motherfucker around and drive over him because I'm smart.
Yeah.
And that's what we all need to do, is to conspire together and be smart, man. We need to pick them out where they're at, get him out of office, lock him up, get him executed, whatever it takes. The bottom line is, in this country, I cannot believe it's 2025 now. We're still not on one strike, you're done.
Yep.
Kids, seriously? We're not there yet? It's pretty easy. One strike, you're done. You molest kids, you're done. Goodbye. You know, it's pretty easy.
I almost think like it can, one of the biggest thing that could put almost like massive shockwaves, start arresting the people from Epstein, like all of them, like all the people that were participated in there. It's almost a reverse House of Cards. Instead of pulling from the bottom, if you rip the top off, like that massive, the upper echelon, it's going to send shockwaves like lightning down from the top. Then they'll see that no one's safe.
It's true. Yeah, and I'm trying to tell you, I have skin in the game, and I've had a decade in the monastery to contemplate this whole scenario. Trying to tell you, once again, the magic key to removing the current hierarchy that's in place is when kids can vote and pay taxes. Because other than that, your opinion, yourself, your body doesn't really matter to us, because guess what? You don't pay us taxes and you can't vote. And you got to realize the hierarchy and power in our country, it's a popular person situation. Whoever's the most popular in high school runs the place. It's weird. So that's the magic key. And I don't suppose that's going to happen, but that is the magic key.
As long as these pieces of shit are making money, they don't give a fuck. It's not, they don't care. And it's almost like they don't want the headache of dealing with the problem. It's just okay, whatever. They pretend they'll pretend for photo ops, but beyond that, they don't give a shit.
Let me ask
you something. Yeah. Does this, like the work you're doing now, does this help you find peace within yourself?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. If I wasn't able to do what I'm doing now, my life would it literally gives my life meaning. Like, I get messages from parents, families all the time. I did one recently for a little youngster, and this girl had been murdered by the mom's boyfriend, et cetera, et cetera. And these are people, I don't know if they're Spanish heritage or Mexican or whatever, but they're in America. And she's like, nobody cares. Literally nobody cares. And that one got 1 million views, bro, and a whole outpouring of support to this family, because guess what? I don't care where you come from or who you are. If you're a little kid, you matter to me, bottom line. And those type of things, bro, one of them, a little youngster, Waylon, his mom's boyfriend stomped him out on Christmas Eve. Bro, when I first talked to that family, they had care, had no Christmas, had nothing. They had a GoFundMe goal of $7,500. 1.7 million views later, they had $74,000 in their GoFundMe, which, mind you, is barely enough to cover the hospitalization they have to pay for. But just having the opportunity to go from blessing a kid by smashing out the monster that's coming to fuck with him, to being able to uplift kids or shine a light on certain topics or educate people in a certain type of way, bro, that's literally made my life a blessing. I couldn't ask for anything more.
I think you have like a very, you have a great community that you've built. A lot of positive people in there, you know, and I love, and even you mentioned, I was watching your live last Sunday, and you had mentioned that there was, your community actually helped lead to some arrests. Which that's one thing I think that makes your community different from a lot of others, is they're kind of boots on the ground. You know, they're handling business out there, and they're really helping. So, I mean, all the love and credit to them as well, you know?
Yeah, and I was going to say, I have to speak on that because I'm constrained by the DOC. So I'm sitting here with an ankle monitor on my leg for the next 3 years, which means I'm still in custody. So when I got out, I had all the gear, one pedal, one bullet, et cetera, banging on them, and they threw me back in jail for 30 days. And they're like, listen, bro, it's basically like an inmate walks out of his cell in the mod, and he's got shit all over his prison shirt. and he's threatening pedophiles everywhere he goes. They're like, we literally cannot allow you to do that while you're still incarcerated. It's against our own policy. We can't.
Right.
One of the things that I've been really, really strong about, and mind you, you can see me, I'm white. I just came out of prison. I interact with all the leaders of all of the white gangs in the state of Alaska. And one of the things that I have stood on my own life to tell these people and everybody else is, it is not ratting if you call the fucking cops on somebody that is harming a child. You are not a rat. If somebody's molesting a child, if somebody's feeding a child dope, you are not a rat. And the reason why that is so important, bro, is because in my lifetime, guess how many times I've called the cops? Never. Ever, not once. Because I was taught, hey, bro, telling is telling, homeboy. Telling is telling. So the crazy part is the actual effect of that culture is dudes are too busy pushing work, bro. Dudes are too busy fixing their bike. Dudes are too busy fixing their car. Man, we got to get this shipment to Texas tomorrow. Man, I don't have time to go do that. So nobody's doing shit. Maybe not now, but where I come from. So in that particular case, it was a 15-year-old girl whose heroin overdose body was dumped outside of a storage unit. The detective was getting nothing from anyone. So I ran the first hit and I said, check this out. Somebody dropped her there. You need to call the police and give them the information because somebody needs to go to jail that is serving dope to 15-year-old kids. Nobody said shit. So 2 days later, I ran another hit and I told him, check this out. On my fucking life, it is not ratting for you to call the police if someone is abusing a child or molesting a child or serving a child dope. It is not ratting. And if any of your fucking homies or your shot callers have a problem with it, come and fucking see me. Come and fucking see me and say that shit to me. You tell me why that shit is ratting. And bro, within 36 hours, somebody broke weak and called and told them who had served that kid dope. And that person is... We don't sell dope to kids.
Yeah. You know what? So, hold on one second. I'm going to cut this little piece out because my internet's just acting weird. Just give me like 2 seconds. And then we'll kind of wrap us up. Give me 1 second.
Yep.
All right. But tell me a little bit about the Alaskan hardcore recovery, because this is a big thing for me. Everybody that watches me knows that, I support. This isn't a paid sponsor. This is just a plug, for something I believe in. Black Poster Project, who John Elite, or now I should say Councilman Elite, is now turning this on to. And Woke at Crossroads. If you're struggling with addiction, hit me up. Let me know, and we'll get you with the right people. But could you tell me a little bit about the hardcore recovery?
For sure. Yeah. So I was going to say, in my life and in my experience, and mind you now, I have taken every single substance abuse course that was ever offered to me. I've become a level 2 certified substance abuse counselor. And 100% of the time, as I was walking away from a class, the guys that were going with me, the first words out of their mouth when we exit the room are, hey, dog, can you get me a paper? Hey, bro, can I get a piece? Hey, bro, we need to get high, bro. Like that shit in general is not effective. And so in my business, I take clients, it's not cheap, one-on-ones, and I give them simple, direct advice and guidance on how to put the chemistry down and advance their life. And it's important, if you're listening to this, just a simple thing for you to hear from me is, not one time in my life experience have I heard a single meth addict, heroin addict, fentanyl addict tell me, thank God I started doing this shit because it's benefited my life in the following ways. Not one, ever. So I can assure you 100% of the time, it will destroy your life and destroy you, period, bar none. Number 2 important thing to hear is the number 1 cause for all of this is unresolved childhood trauma. It comes from childhood trauma. And nobody blames you for wanting to get high and mask pain. Most of the time, it's not even your fault. However, once you're aware that it is there, now it's your responsibility to handle that shit and step away from it. So that's how I get down. I was grateful. JD had hardcore recovery, and he's like, bro, you should start a recovery business. Shot me all of the paperwork to be a recovery, a peer support specialist and all that. And man, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it because drugs affected my life. I didn't even know why I was smoking weed and doing the thing and snorting meth and everything else. Eventually, I figured it out. The other thing, too, super important to remind people is I have not yet met one single super successful influencer, creator, businessman, entrepreneur, you name it. Maybe in the music industry, maybe in a couple other goofy industries, but in general, in the real world, if you're an addict and you're doing your thing and you're getting high, you are not as successful as you should or could be. I promise you. So be sober, get sober, live a good life, be happy, because that's what I'm going to do.
You know what? I don't know how often you hear it, and I mean, we just met each other, but it's like I want you to know, like, I'm proud of you for.
I appreciate it, man.
Like, I really am, because for me, I've said this in other episodes with other people I've interviewed. 8 people I know personally that were close friends to me that have died from it, including my cousin Michelle from a fentanyl overdose.
Rest in peace.
And you know, in my area, 20, probably in either high 20s, and other people that I knew from doing dumb shit are either forever in a prison cell or like they're gonna find the cell or the grave, one of the two soon. And there's a dark place when you're seeing your friends die from that. The only thing is for me that stopped me from really fucking getting it hooked on the drugs like everybody else was my own anxiety. I didn't like how I felt, so it kept my anxiety actually protected me from that in a fucking crazy way. But the more they died, I looked at that. I just looked at addicts with utter contempt. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't. Yeah. Especially when one of my closest friends, Ian, passed away. He died. He had everything. He was a smart guy, good-looking guy. Like he was making good money, and he died on a warming shelter floor in New Haven, Connecticut. And the people he was with, they robbed him while he was ODing instead of helping him, and he died like that. And like I hate, like when I got told in the morning, it's like I felt nothing, like just nothing. And I think talking with all the guys I have been, it really helps me kind of resolve that. Make peace with it. Yeah. So now I want to devote a lot of my time to helping those, and if I in any way I can. I'm still a small platform, but we're gonna get there, and it almost helps me connect with them, try to help somebody feel, so I can feel something more than just hate and anger. You know what I mean?
For sure. Well, and another important thing too is I don't have any contempt for addicts. What I do have contempt for is laziness. And if you're ignorant to information, then you're just ignorant. But once you have the information, if you're too lazy to act on it, that shit is what pisses me off. And I'm telling you right now, bottom line, no question, our country is at war with another country. And they are launching nuclear missiles into our country in semis and on planes every single day. Mm-hmm. And China's making the precursors. The Mexican super labs are making the finished product, and they're dumping it in your neighborhood. And if you think they're not trying to kill you, they are.
Oh, yeah.
And it's working. Mm-hmm. And it's working. And you just have to see it that way. You are part of a war, and it is going down. And if you don't see it that way, you need to put your glasses on, because that's what's up. So one at a time, that's how we do it. And then eventually it'll get figured out. I hope.
There's so many good people that and I know we talked about a lot of dark shit, and people need to hear these things. They need to have see the realities behind it. But I am, I'm extremely proud and honored to have you here with me.
Appreciate you, bro.
And and it's like, and you know what, and a give back to everybody. I love the support and the love and the positivity that I've received since I started doing this. Me and West 40 are Burning Hearts Tattoo. We're going to be doing a $200 giveaway as a thank you. So like this, subscribe to us, follow. We're gonna have all of Jason's information. Buy onelight gear, like
Yeah, get some.
It's like
Get
look,
some.
he's wearing it now. It's you got to buy it. That's the stuff. And but really, some of the stuff you post is tough. But I mean, it's like I've cried. I'm not gonna bullshit. Like I've cried a couple of times. Even when I sent you the hook, I cried for 2 hours and I was done with it.
Me too. Me too.
And it's like, I'm really happy to have you here, and I hope to have you back in the future, and we can, stay in touch, man.
Of course, bro. Of course, we will. And I also want to end this by telling everybody, a lot of dark corners, a lot of dark people, but I promise you this, there are lights out there amongst you. I promise you. And there are those of us that actually will put ourselves in harm's way because we actually do care about you. And the other thing too is, you are not alone. And I know that sounds trite, but I thought I was alone for my entire adult life, bro, and I'm not anymore. So I just want to remind you of that. And I appreciate you, Chris. You're doing a good thing, man. Keep it up.
All right. So like I say in the other stuff, the path in life is undetermined. Don't be a product of your zip code. It don't define you.
That's right.
Always choose. Treat people with kindness. Treat people with respect. And like Jason said, if you see something, do something about it.
Straight up.
So I love y'all. I love you, man. And we out.
Appreciate you, bro. Yeah, appreciate you.
And
give your wife my love. All right, brother.
Thanks, man.
I'm Mike. Well.